is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
This is Talkin Cowboys. Streaming live from the Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
Handoff, Elliott plowing to the goal line. Barry, sacked by Lord. Prescott keeps it, and he bangs it in for the touchdown.
And now your hosts, Isaiah Stanback, Heckma Harrison, Rob Phillips, and Kyle Yeomans.
It's a beautiful Tuesday morning from Frisco in the SWBC Mortgage Studios. Of course, 9:30 every Tuesday, it's time for Talking Cowboys. Glad you're with us on DallasCowboys.com and the various streaming platforms. Of course, it's a Fans on the 50 Tuesday. Send in your fan questions, whether it be on the Twitter, on the Periscope. Find a way to get your fan questions in right now, and we're going to answer them over the course of the next 45 minutes. Isaiah Stanback, as always, in the house here on Tuesdays. We've got Heckma Harrison and Rob Phillips at home. And, guys, we're a couple days removed from that 23-9 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, but there's a lot of other things on the line today as trade deadline day in the NFL is upon us. We're going to talk about maybe the Cowboys potentially making a move one way or the other and maybe staying put. We heard what Jerry Jones had to say this morning, and we're going to break that down here in a minute as well. But I wanted to break something else down on what we heard on the Fan this morning. And it doesn't have to do with Cowboys front office personnel. It has to do with one of our very own, and that's Mr. Rob Phillips. And
hello, Rob.
Rob, I heard the end of that interview you had with Sean and RJ just a couple moments ago. It was played for the entirety of the group here. Explain the regulator. What was going on there?
Come on.
I don't know what happened right before I came on. I couldn't tell which member of their show was doing some kind of pop karaoke, and I just said in passing, and that was a big mistake. I said we all need some karaoke in our lives right now for a lot of reasons. And so then it went down the road of what's your go-to. I'm old. I haven't done karaoke in years, but I'm a '90s guy, so I said Warren G. Regulate. That's my favorite, one of my favorite songs of all time. So they had me do the intro on the way out.
And you did it. You did it.
Segment.
You did it fantastic. I thought it was awesome. I mean, Isaiah was. I was impressed. He was wide-eyed, impressed at the same time.
I didn't know that you had that gangsta in you, Rob. I was unfamiliar.
You like that?
I did like it.
Good. I thought I made a total ass of myself, but apparently not.
No, Heckma said you brought it. That was what Heckma's words were.
Man,
I'm speechless. I don't even know, Rob. Just when you think you know a guy, he pulls out Warren G and Regulators and Nate Dogg. I mean, you even did the whole intro.
He did that. I don't think we call him Rob Phillips anymore. I think we have to call him Rob P. Like Warren G, but Rob P. I think that's what we have to refer to him as from now on.
We can go with that.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Rob.
Oh yeah. Hey, I'm glad they stopped me there because I could have gone like one or two more lines.
There's more.
Man, they should have let it keep going. You know they're going to bring that back too. They're going to bring it back next week. You're going to pop on Tuesday, and they're probably going to intro the segment with you with a little Rob P.
Hey, that song makes you feel better, and we all need to feel better these days.
Boy, don't we all.
You're not wrong about that. Stressful day for everyone involved in, I guess, the States. For those of you listening internationally, you don't have to listen to this, but everybody go vote, of course, Election Day today. Go get it done. Do your civic duty. And everybody love each other. I tweeted that out this morning, no matter what ends up happening tonight. Love all of you guys. This is going to be a ton of fun. Talking football, but, of course, there's other things out there today. But that's all we're going to say on that because now it's a nerve-wracking day for the NFL. It's a nerve-wracking day because of the trade deadline and some of these moves that are going to happen for every franchise over the next couple of hours. And, Rob, this morning, Jerry Jones on the Fan, in his weekly interview with Sean and RJ before you went on, said pretty much the Cowboys looking to stay put. Now, you can take that with a grain of salt, seeing that you don't want to give up what you're trying to do. But what did you think about Jerry's answer and really the mindset of the Cowboys here in the trade deadline day?
Yeah, I think Jerry said improbability to try to get something done, at least something done that's a big splash before 3 o'clock Central. So, and I thought Steven, illustrated it well too on the Fan with K&C yesterday when he said, he kind of went in a little bit more depth and talked about how Jerry did too in terms of the cap, but also from a roster standpoint, I think Steven talked about they have needs. I mean, defensively, defensive tackle, and they traded for how do you pronounce Eli and
Niku?
And Nku,
I think is how it is.
So, yeah. So you were right. They made a minor roster move there before the deadline, but I think they're kind of looking at it like play the young guys. Let's see what some of the young guys we already like on this roster. They made moves last week to move on from veterans to open up that playing time. So they want to focus on that. And the other thing is too, the vibe I got from Steven, and we kind of talked about this, one move defensively, I don't know fixes everything at this point. And so they're taking more of a long-term view. Not that they're not trying to win games, but I think they're taking a long-term view of the cap and just kind of where they are with the roster right now and trying to be competitive with the young guys that they have. I think that just seems to be the approach right now.
Heckman, what do you think about that mindset?
Yeah, I think that's a smart mindset. With the fluctuation of the cap for next year, we're just kind of in a no man's land of knowing what that's going to be. But, you just have to think how the mighty have fallen. And when we, at the beginning of the season, we were talking about how talented this roster is. And now we're at the point where we're talking about trading away guys to get picks, or if there's anyone that could come in from outside the organization to help us now. I just feel like what Jerry Jones said was absolutely correct in the mind state of staying pat on what we have and trying to develop the young guys that we have, because we have a bunch of those. And so I don't object with it. I don't think that there's any splash trades that you can make that would come in and actually make your team better. So, and I think that would be the thing that you would do, or offloading a guy to get more picks. And so staying the course of where we are right now, and right now it's starting to look like we would probably be in a top 10 pick. I'm hoping not, but that's where the course is taking us. But if that is the case, then that's a smart place to be. And also, I heard you ask the question about Aldon Smith and not wanting to trade him away. That may be just us wanting to offer a guy that's given us all that he can an extension.
And we'll get to that coming up here in just a minute, but I wanted to get your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I don't see any trades necessarily happening. You guys know my thoughts and my sentiments on free agents that are out there that could help us immediately. But I don't foresee any trades taking place. And they're obviously smart to think about their cap space going forward. But ultimately, you still have a great opportunity this year, and I think that you need to focus on trying to make sure that you have the best opportunity this year to grasp all your wants and dreams, and that's still a reality. So do what you can to control the now. Obviously, plan for the future.
So you're still buying at the trade deadline based off of what you just said,
but not trading. Like I said, I think there's free agents out there. I think there's free agents out there that we can grab. I think there's I think we probably could trade a couple guys away to acquire some picks just for the future. I don't think there's any players out there that we necessarily can go grab. I don't think you're going to get that much value for the guys that we currently have, but I think you can grab some low end picks. But you go out there and grab a couple free agents that can come in and help you right now.
No, I agree, and I think that's kind of the biggest thing right now is trying to find value in the guys that you're willing to trade. Right now, who are you going to dangle out there that is going to get the value that you want back for him? Even right now, Michael Gallup, I know he's been thrown around, and I wouldn't be on the train of trading Michael Gallup, but even with him right now, that's a guy who, at least over the last couple games, his value hasn't been there. At least the same that it has been in the past with Dak Prescott. So I don't know what teams are going to be willing to do there. But, Heckman, you brought up Aldon Smith, and I do want to get into him a little bit. Jerry confirming the report that Aldon Smith was not a part of trade talks with Seattle, or I guess they were a part, but they rejected the trade talks with Seattle for Aldon Smith. And yes, this is a guy who's 31 years old, who got off to a really hot start, who found a rhythm early, but has since kind of slowed down, at least in terms of the sack numbers. He's still putting up a little bit of production and good film. However, this kind of shows a little foreshadowing the fact that this means they're probably going to try and extend this guy, right, Heckman?
Heck yeah, you are. And, he's giving you everything that you could have wanted. I think going into the season, there was a big question mark around Aldon Smith being out of the league for 4.5 years and not knowing what that production would look like. My God, did he trend up really quickly? And to give that away on a guy that he could probably give you some more good years. I don't think that's something that the Cowboys are interested in doing, especially with what you got him for, right? And so with Randy Gregory coming on, and obviously I'm hoping that Aldon Smith can mentor that guy because, man, Randy Gregory also has an incredible motor, and you see why this franchise has put so much belief in him just by his first game in actual action and seeing the kind of pressure that he's getting on the quarterback. But no, Aldon Smith is off of the list. Don't even bring his name up again.
Rob?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you ever trade. That pass rush is a position where if you've got some depth and some guys you like, hold on to them because they're hard to find. It's a marquee position, and I think you mentioned Gallup earlier too, Kyle, and how obviously they don't want to trade Gallup. What we're talking about leading up to today's deadline is like it's a micro view. They're looking macro, long term. Especially on offense, they have cited the injuries, all the injuries they've had, and I know people don't want to hear that. At some point, it's not an excuse; it's facts, and I think it has impacted them, especially offensively. I said this on Sean and RJ. I think that the vibe we're getting is that they plan to run this thing back next year, especially on offense. Get healthy, bring Dak back. Hopefully re-sign him long-term and shore up your offensive line with your vets, and you have all your talent at receiver, and go play football. And then defensively, you're probably going to see some changes. And there's going to be changes because there's a lot of guys up for free agency next year. Alden Smith, one of them. I think Heck's right. They're going to try to re-sign him. We'll see if it turns out being a Robert Quinn type deal where maybe the market prevents them from doing that, but certainly they want to try. And so having him as part of that rotation there, I think, is wise, at least to try to get that set for 2021.
No, I don't have nothing else to add. I think you guys are absolutely correct. I think Gallup is probably on the table. If I had to put anybody on the table of any of our premier guys, it'd be Gallup. Mm-hmm. Simply is not for the fact that you actually want to get rid of them. That's probably you don't want to get rid of them. But in terms of the guys that you can actually get some value for right now, and where you can afford to lose somebody, you can afford to lose a receiver.
Okay.
Right now, I think we have a great trio. Is it necessary? No. Right, and you can develop some young receivers. Right, there's always receivers coming in out of the draft. So I think you can get some good value for Gallup right now. Aldon Smith, I don't think you want to get rid of him, especially with your defensive line woes. You probably want to try to hold on to the guys that actually have proven something. So I don't think he's on the table by any means. But if you had to make a move, if you're going to let one of your main guys go, I think it's Gallup.
Why Gallup and not Amari Cooper?
Well, Cooper, you just paid him, so you're not going to get rid of Cooper, right? Because you just committed. That'd be the silliest thing ever. You just gave him a bunch of guaranteed money. But Gallup, he's going to demand some money in the future. He's going to demand some money in the future, and I don't think that Dallas is going to be in a position to pay him in the future. Not with the way that their salary cap issues are lined up, right? So if you know that you're going to have to offload him anyways down the road, you might as well get him while he's kind of hot.
Now, in terms of adding talent, and I know that's still kind of on the table as well, and Jerry didn't necessarily shoot it down whenever he talked about playing some of these young guys and evolving who you have as a part of it right now. But Rob, whenever it comes to his answer earlier and maybe where am I going with this? I'm trying to talk about the additions that are coming in. It's because I don't believe this is going to happen. But do you see a potential of an addition at some point before the trade deadline? And if you did, where would you see? What position-wise would you even remotely think about adding somebody?
I really don't, based on what they've said. I mean, I guess you can never say never. It sounds like, based on what they've kind of indicated, they'll take calls, but they're not going to make a bunch of calls and be aggressive. Maybe that changes before 3 o'clock. We'll see. I know Steven referenced the defensive tackle position, and we've talked about that one as, especially in the run defense, moving on from Dontari Poe. They're thin there. They've had trouble shoring up the middle of that defensive line. That's obvious. But as Steven pointed out, and it's kind of like I mentioned at pass rusher, if you've got a solid, strong defensive tackle for your front, those those guys are hard to find. So it would take a lot of draft capital to do that. I just don't see them trading big draft picks to try to make a run this year. Not that they're not trying to compete, but I don't see that this year.
Heckma?
Yeah, and trying to develop the guy. Yeah, just trying to develop the guys that you have. And if there was a need, if you were going to go somewhere, Kyle, it would be at the D tackle for sure, because that's where the production has needed to come from, and we just hadn't gotten anything from it. And you look at guys like Neville Gallimore and now Tristan Hill, that injury also kind of amplifies because you get rid of Poe, you get rid of Everson Griffin, and so you need more guys. And so Hamilton are the other guys that you have that are coming off of the practice squad and this whole youth movement and trying to get these guys some reps in. Neville Gallimore has filled in, quite fine. There are a few things that he does that you want to underline, circle, and highlight that you want to improve on. And I'm sure as a defense, they've talked to this guy about that. But that's where we have to get the push in. If we're looking anywhere, it's going to be at the D tackle and also safety. And I'm sure Isaiah has a lot to add about this.
Yeah, I mean, I think the safety position, obviously, everybody knows where I stand on this. I think that's a position that we can add, and it would have a huge impact right now. I think that's a position that you can have a drastic impact. And obviously, the defensive line, obviously, you see Dallas trying to make some moves in that regard in terms of trading for Eli. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Uncle, I would assume.
I think, it's something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So they're trying to get some young, hungry guys in here. So they did do that. I know nobody's really talking about that right now. Probably not a lot of film out, but they're bringing in guys that are hungry at that position, and they're hoping that some of that turns into fruition. But yeah, safety, man, safety. If you get a safety back there, your secondary worries go away. I think that a great communication on the back end of your defense makes a huge difference. And then in terms of up front, you just need effort. You need some effort guys. You need guys that are and they're getting that right now, and they're going to get better. They're obviously not very good right now, but they will get better. And that's a position where you just have to have a ton of reps. When you're in the secondary, you need a lot of identification, right? You need to be able to identify. You need concepts. You need to be able to identify splits. You need to be able to identify threats. And that's where a veteran safety can come in and help those guys out in that regard.
Yeah, and I think we're going to talk about the safety position coming up a little bit later on as well, because I want to hear all of y'all's opinions on Donovan Wilson and how he played on Sunday, because he did have the turnover. He had the forced fumble of Carson Wentz early in the football game. But I want to kind of hear what you guys thought about him in general moving forward. Mike McCarthy had some really good words about him yesterday in his press conference. But when we come back, it's officially 9:50. We'll go to Fans on the 50. Answer your fan questions. Keep sending them in on the Periscope and the Twitter. Got some good ones already. And keep bringing them. Keep bringing them. We're going to bring the fire here in the next couple minutes when we come back here on Talkin Cowboys.
Since 1865, Stetson hats are American-made with pride right here in Texas. And Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Want to show your Texas and team pride too? You can. By purchasing your own Stetson, you can look just like how the flag guys do on field at every home game. Stetson hats, the official crown of all self-respecting Cowboys and your favorite football team.
Get yours today at shop.dallascowboys.com or at stetson.com.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Essilor is a proud sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys, helping fans see more and do more with our best vision solutions. Our lens technologies reveal a world more beautiful than you can imagine. For a limited time, get the Essilor Next Gen offer. When you buy the latest generation of Transitions lenses with select Essilor lenses, you can choose a second pair of clear lenses for free with qualifying frame purchases. Restrictions apply. Find a participating eye care professional by visiting EssilorUSA.com. Essilor. See more, do more.
We're back with a tasty treat that's sweeping airwaves and taste buds. It's new Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda. Let's take a listen.
Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda's here. A new combo that's music to my ears, okay. Let's play. Cream Soda and Dr. Pepper time.
Ah, music to my ears and mouth. New Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda.
A delicious duet.
Back to Talkin' Cowboys.
Back here on Talkin' Cowboys. It's a Tuesday edition, which means it's Fans on the 50. But before we get in to Fans on the 50, don't miss your chance to get tickets to see the Cowboys at AT&T Stadium this season. Home matchups remaining against the Steelers this week, Washington and the football team, the 49ers and the Eagles. A limited number of tickets are still on sale now. Get your tickets today at DallasCowboys.com/tickets. So go get your tickets. And kind of a fun little side note, of course, Mike Tomlin coming to town with the Steelers, facing up against Mike McCarthy at AT&T Stadium. Remember the last time those two guys met at AT&T Stadium? It was a Super Bowl. It was where Mike McCarthy beat the Steelers with the Packers for his one Super Bowl win. So kind of interesting this week, a little side storyline. I know Cowboys fans don't necessarily really want to hear a whole lot about the past Super Bowl, especially when you're 2-6. You want to hear about how you're going to get to the next one. But we've got some time for Fans on the 50.
Fans on the 50.
I believe the sounder played in the background. Okay, it played. Okay, cool. We're good. So we're moving on with Fans on the 50. Continue sending in your questions. I'm reading the Periscope stream and also in our Twitter mentions as well. Rob, this one's going to go for you. This is from Mr. Dave Aaron, and he says, will Cheeto be back this week? Of course, he was supposed to be back last week, but what are the words around the building in terms of Cheeto Awuzie making his return against Pittsburgh?
It sounds like they're optimistic about this week, and I'm like you guys, man. I was surprised he didn't play and wasn't activated off of IR on Saturday because I feel like late in the week, Mike McCarthy was talking about not just whether he would play, but how many snaps he would play against the Eagles. So they decided he just wasn't quite ready coming off the hamstring, and Sean Lee and Joe Looney were activated instead. But they could have activated him. They just wanted to wait another week. I think he started the practice window on the 22nd, so they didn't have to do it over this past weekend, and I think there's probably a decent chance he'll be back this week.
All right, and whenever it comes to Cheeto Heckma, and you look at what he brings to the table, especially as just extra security in that secondary, what a week it would be back to have him back against Pittsburgh coming up this week.
Well, if there's a week for him to come back and make an impact, it would be this one. Obviously, we could have definitely used him and his strength last week, but we have some firepower coming our way at AT&T this Sunday, and Chase Claypool, the Juju Smith-Schuster, it's going to be quite an event for our secondary. So Cheeto, you know what he gives you. He's a lot physical. He's a physical corner for us, and I think with he and Diggs and Brown, and people are not talking about Brown. Brown did really well versus the Eagles. Also, I want to make mention of that. But Cheeto would be a necessary addition to our secondary that's looking to get healthier and would definitely shore up and make some plays for us.
You think the same thing?
I do. It hurt that they didn't have him. And the thing about bringing Cheeto back is, you take the pressure off of Diggs of having to face your number one receiver. And I think that's absolutely imperative right now because Diggs is obviously he's not ready for that. He's getting better. He's getting better, but he should not have to bear that responsibility. So I think as soon as Cheeto comes back, I think, things get better on that end.
Let's talk about potential position change. This is from Gary. By the way, Gary went and voted this morning. That's what I'm talking about, Gary. He sent a picture of the I voted today sticker.
G.
So G went out and voted. He says Jalen Smith is downright bad at playing linebacker. So that's how he starts this question off, bringing the fire, and I like it.
Wow.
What would you guys think?
Don't hold nothing back.
What would you guys think about moving him onto the line of scrimmage as a situational pass rusher already with a big no? Okay, that's the question. Why not?
For the same reasons why you think he's not a good linebacker is the same reason why he wouldn't be a good defensive end. That he cannot get off blocks and he gets consumed by offensive linemen. So by putting him that much closer with less momentum, it's probably not going to work to his advantage.
Okay, Rob?
Yeah, he's 200. I just looked it up. He's 230 pounds. Can't ask him to do that. Line up on the edge and get in a 3-point stance and take on blockers. I mean, I think I think we're all in agreement. His best skill is probably moving forward, blitzing. That's different than playing the position full time. Heck.
Yeah, definitely. And, man, everybody's down on Jalen, and rightfully so. Jalen he's making some misreads, and it just looks bad on his part. And I don't think a position change is the answer. And I think there's a lot of this thing that you think that you can just plug and play guys, and it just doesn't work like that. And at 230 pounds, he would definitely be on an island for some right tackle to feast on. So I don't think that would be ideal for, if you think he's bad now, wait until you switch him to DN.
Yeah, I think you would have to add a good 20 pounds at least, and then also find a way to change direction at the same time and learn learn how to pivot a little bit.
Maybe 240, but still.
Yeah, exactly. I still think, either way, you're going to have to add some weight. And since Gary went off and voted, we're going to actually let him ask 2 questions in a row, and that doesn't happen a whole lot on this show. So congratulations, Gary. You went and voted. We're going to give you 2. Also, Luke Gifford showed some real promise this year before his injury. Is there any chance we see him or the undrafted free agent Francis Bernard anytime soon, Rob?
That's an interesting thought. Maybe. I mean, I can't tell you I have a good feel for Luke Gifford just because of the injuries. I mean, he hasn't played this year, and he was really in and out of the lineup last year.
Yeah.
When he's been on the field, those preseason games, he does have some instincts. He's a physical player. Like what we saw from Francis Bernard in preseason. But I kind of feel like, Sean Lee's going to be set for more snaps here. I think he had 4 in the game the other day, and I think Mike said they wanted to get him probably like a dozen. So I think they're still going to try to work him in because having Sean on the field will help the run defense, the defense in general, just from a communication standpoint. I mean, he knows what he's doing back there, and I think they're still trying to shore that up. And the best way to do that, I think, is to get Sean Lee on the field a little bit more.
Heckma?
Completely agree with you, Rob. Yeah, completely agree with you, Rob, on that. And Gifford came into the league from Nebraska with the injury bug, and it's just continued. I know he's a guy that's trying to get healthy and get on the roll, and he's a fan favorite because we just don't know what he can do. But Francis Bernard is another kid that's doing really well for us in special teams, and that's going to be his way to get involved defensively. But, Rob, you're right. Sean Lee is back. He gives us that added leadership, along with Van Der Esch, that I think we've needed, right? And his injury in return, maybe it helps shore up some of the miscommunication that we've had in just in the front line. And you just see so much in week in and week out, just miscommunication and guys getting lined up properly. That's been a problem for the Dallas Cowboys defense. So, Sean Lee being back is definitely big, but that would be a hard pass on Gifford right now.
Leave it the way it is.
Leave it the way it is.
Leave it the way it is. Sean Lee rolled him in there. He didn't look that good though. He got hit stick a little bit when I saw him, but he has to get some reps underneath him again. But yeah, I mean, Sean Lee's mental capacity. I mean, when you're smart, when you're a smart player in this league, especially at the linebacker position, it allows for you to play a long time, even when your physical has gone away. And there's a perfect example of that by a guy by the name of Ray Lewis. Played a lot of years.
Yeah.
Even when his physical ability started kind of dwindling and going away, but simply because he was smarter and he was able to identify things. We talked about the identity piece. He's able to see things that he saw on film. He gets to see it in person. He's able to beat you there by getting there maybe a half step earlier. He's able to do that. Sean Lee's going to be able to do that, and he's going to be able to help his defensive linemen, these hungry young guys, get lined up in a proper position as he sees things that he saw on film.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing at least the example of if you have good linebackers, healthy linebackers, I should say. If you have healthy linebackers in the fold as starters, they usually don't leave the field a whole lot in the middle of a game. And, I mean, Joe Thomas is still in that conversation as maybe that third or fourth guy. You still have, I guess, Gifford would probably be the next man up in that case. But even then, I mean, he showed some flashes for sure, and I thought Bernard was better during training camp, and that's really the biggest chunk of time we've seen those guys actually on the field. But, I mean, I also thought we had a good look at training camp for a lot of guys, and that hasn't necessarily panned out either. So you can't really,
one more thing on
can't
that,
really
Kyle?
trust that. Yeah.
I think there's a difference between, playing the young guys just to play the young guys and playing the young guys because guys in front of them are not being productive. And I think, look, Dontari Poe, Darryl Worley, even Everson Griffin, I mean, they moved on because they wanted to see maybe more production from younger guys. We're talking about a Sean Lee or an Aldon Smith. I think they feel better about getting production from those guys when they're healthy or when they're on the field. There's a difference between just trotting out the young guys just to play the young guys. I don't think they're in that mode yet. I think they're just trying to field the best guys they can to help try to get something going defensively. They're still in that mode. It's not a tank mode. It's just not.
Yeah, it's just it's a tryout mode. It's honestly what it kind of feels like. It's come prove yourself right now and find a way to get some of those reps later on in your career. Now, speaking of making moves and clearing way and doing something crazy, how about this? This is from Darby on our Periscope stream. By the way, keep sending in questions, but does it make sense to deal one Ezekiel Elliott while he still has value? Why are you shaking your head, Isaiah? Answer the question.
No. 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 I mean,
why?
Where do you find another Zeke?
Do you not have one in the backfield?
No, you don't.
Okay.
Actually. I mean, Pollard's a good back, but he's no Zeke. Let's be honest about it. Zeke's down right now. Just because somebody's down for a couple games doesn't mean that you just ship him off. He's been good to this organization for a long time. He has a lot of juice left. I don't think there's any question about that. He had a couple fumbles this year, and he has an offensive line that's playing musical chairs. Things will settle in. He'll start getting back to being the Zeke that everybody knows. But it takes more than just a running back getting the ball from the quarterback to be successful in this league. And once the Cowboys figure things out up front, I think he'll fix. I think I'm pretty sure he's fixed his fumbling woes. Then it's just a matter of just finding the holes. But it's not just it's not easy as getting the ball and running. There's guys on the other side of the ball that are getting paid to do what they do. Their job is to stop you. And if they're better than your guys up front, your chances of getting good yardage is not going to happen. But he had an okay game the other night. He had some good runs.
Yeah, it was better than the first two games or the last two games, I guess, in that regard.
Yeah.
Heckman, do you agree?
No, I agree with it, and it's just, man, 2020 and the cancel culture of mafia is a trip, man. And it's, I get it. I think a guy has a down year. If you start listening to people say, the running back position is down, and all the analytical people that say you really don't need a running back to win, you start to kind of buy in to those. And I just don't believe that. I think that. I'm a guy, I watch football, boxing, I'm a big-time boxing fan. I think a lot of times when you watch a boxer take some big shots, it changes who that guy is. And some time off, getting in a good training camp, you see a whole nother guy return to the ring. I'm looking at Zeke just like that, man. He's taking some shots. Man, I don't care if you watch the tape, just like the blitz from the linebacker from the Redskins, that was a shot, and he has taken a few just this year. And so I'm not saying that he's gun shy. I just think that he's a running back that's looking for that contact to be on him once he gets the ball, and you're seeing that repeatedly on tape. Is Zeke will get the handoff, and there's a guy already on his hip pocket. So just for him, I just really want for him to finish this year off as strong as he can. I think now in the NFL, 1,000 yards is nothing. But at the same time, if he could reach that, that's going to be a positive for him.
I didn't know you were a boxing fan too, Heck. That's cool. We got something to talk about, yeah. Yeah, that's a good analogy. I think I'm in agreement with you guys because I mentioned run it back next year.
Yep.
I think they're absolutely going to run it back offensively. It's been a really weird year for Zeke. Because of the score. Some of it's been his fault, and he's owned up to those mistakes, those turnovers that have put the offense in deficits, along with the defense, that have limited his opportunities. And then the line is a factor, too. There haven't been the big explosive runs the last couple years. That's well documented. I know people that are critical of Zeke have cited that. I continue to look at the 10-plus yard runs, which do count as explosive runs in the NFL. And despite the lack of carries, he's going to have probably the lowest carry total he's had since 2017 when he missed 6 games on suspension. he's right there in the top 11 in 10-plus yard runs this year. He's right there. I think he's got 12. He's tied with James Conner. He's tied with Kamara. And Derrick Henry's got 17. So I think he can still be productive for them. They just need to take better care of the ball. They've got to get healthier on the offensive line and have some leads every now and then. God, for every now and then, when you're not playing from behind, it's wonderful when you can do that. It happened a couple times last week, and it actually helped Ben DiNucci. So that's kind of where they're at. And I would like to see more Tony Pollard the rest of the way too. Yeah. It's not so much about Zeke. It's just look the way he ran last week, and they need that type of balance back. They need both guys to help out the quarterback, whoever's in there.
I've got
Look at us, Rob, learning a lot about each other. I didn't know you were a Warren G fan.
That's Rob P. coming at you live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios.
Rob P.
Rob P. I've got a very bold thing to say about Tony P. and Mr. Ezekiel Elliott. I think Zeke is by far the better back, and you don't get rid of him. So I'm in agreement of all of you guys. But I think Tony Pollard is a better suited back for your current situation. With the line that you have up front, Ezekiel Elliott's a guy who you want one-on-one tacklers against. You want him to break a tackle. That's what springs his long runs. Tony Pollard's a guy that's going to run around you. He's not as physical a back. He's more of an elusive back. He's somebody who can break a tackle and then maybe make the second man miss. That's never been Zeke's game. It never has been. He's been a physical back, a bell cow, somebody who's over and over and over again going to get the football, whereas Tony Pollard is one of those lightning in a bottle type of players.
I hear you.
Okay.
I hear you. And if running back if your only job as a running back, your sole purpose was to simply get the ball and run it, I might agree with you.
Okay.
However, there's a thing called passing.
I agree completely on where you're going with
this. And these guys have to block. And if anybody's been paying any attention, Ezekiel Elliott is probably one of the best blocking running backs in the league.
He saved multiple sacks this season.
He has done a heck of a job this year picking up blitzes. As we know, we've seen a lot of it. Just go back and watch the film. He's picking dudes up left and right, knocking them. He's putting his head in there. When he hasn't been able to run the ball effectively, he's blocked effectively. And he's gotten himself embarrassed a couple times as well. I mean, as that, they're professionals as well. It's going to happen. But he has stuck his neck out there for these quarterbacks, all three of them. And I think that has some that they have to give him respect for that in that regard.
You guys agree?
Yeah,
he said it.
Absolutely.
He laid it out on the table. No, I'm glad you brought that up because there is more to the tailback position than just running the football. I'm talking specifically running it. It could go either way, but I think Zeke's definitely the more, and it's not even close, I don't think, the more valuable back, and you don't necessarily move on from that when you have a talent like him in the backfield. We got a couple more questions. We're going to go and answer those later on Twitter, but we do have to take our second break. When we come back, I'll answer this question from Mr. Chris. It's a good one. It's about Mike McCarthy, and we'll answer it on the other side of the break here on Talkin Cowboys.
I'm Jay Novacek, former tight end for the Dallas Cowboys. Back in the day, I was the guy who always got the tough yards, and that's why I run with John Deere today. In fact, I have a John Deere 3025E tractor that can handle any yard work I need to do, even the tough yards way out back. So if you have 1 acre or 1,000, John Deere has the equipment that's just right for you. Visit a John Deere dealer today and run with us. We are the official tractor provider of your Dallas Cowboys.
Essilor is a proud sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys, helping fans see more and do more with our best vision solutions. Our lens technologies reveal a world more beautiful than you can imagine. For a limited time, get the Essilor Next Gen offer. When you buy the latest generation of Transitions lenses with select Essilor lenses, you can choose a second pair of clear lenses for free with qualifying frame purchases. Restrictions apply. Find a participating eye care professional by visiting EssilorUSA.com. Essilor. See more, do more.
We're back with a tasty treat that's sweeping airwaves and taste buds. It's new Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda. Let's take a listen.
Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda's here. A new combo that's music to my ears, okay. Let's play. Cream Soda and Dr. Pepper time. Pour it in a glass of ice.
Music to my ears and mouth. New Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda.
A delicious duet.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys? Jack Black. Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Back to Talkin' Cowboys.
Whether you're watching from home or cheering in the stands with Essilor lenses, you'll see every exciting play. Book an appointment at your local Essilor experts and find the perfect Essilor lens for you. See more, do more, Essilor. Oh, Isaiah's giving
I don't even see him, and I know he's doing that.
He's doing it. You know he's doing it. Yeah, peeking back the curtain a little bit, I guess, on the way that we do these virtual shows. We have like a side channel that we all hear each other on and see each other on, and then basically Heckma and Rob are looking at themselves the whole time. I mean, that's the only thing they see. So they don't get to see us at all. They're just looking at their own smiling faces.
Hey.
And it is talent.
And Kyle, I'm in heaven, and I'm in heaven.
Wow.
Okay.
With the sultry, smooth jazz.
Yes. Forget the sultry voice. How about the white pearly spot? We did have, at some point, somebody asked Heckma who his dentist was on the chat stream, and we all lost it. Oh, it was so funny. And he didn't even say the answer. Yeah, it's just a big old toothbrush is all it is. Okay. So we have one more segment here, a couple more minutes, and Chris asked this question. I wanted to bring it up anyways because it was a topic of conversation yesterday following the loss to Philadelphia, and it was definitely on our show talking about the play calling. And Mike McCarthy was asked yesterday during this press conference, why won't Mike McCarthy take over the play calling from Kellen Moore? And he said it's a non-issue. He said it's not even a question, hadn't even crossed his mind, not even a thing that they're talking about doing. But we even talked about it yesterday. There were lapses in play calling whenever it came to that game on Sunday night, Rob. And what do you think about what McCarthy said at the table? I enjoy the fact and I respect the fact that he didn't throw his man under the bus, but at some point that's got to be a conversation to be had, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't think he's planning to do that. I mean, he wants to empower his coaches, and I think he wants to show faith in his coaches. And I feel like in order for him to do that, am I still off?
No, we can hear you.
I'm hearing myself twice. In order to have success offensively, I think he wants to empower his coaches. And to do that, I think he's got to show faith with them even when they're having injuries, when there's problems up front. And, they didn't have these same problems with the injuries before the injuries. So I think really with the issues they've had have been situationally. The fumble outside the red zone in the third quarter, and some of the things they've dialed up in the red zone, they've just got to be a little bit better situationally. But I think overall, you've got to point to the injuries more than anything than what Kellen Moore's done from a play calling standpoint at this point.
Heckma?
That's a difficult one for me because I've always respected Coach Mike McCarthy as a play caller. That's I'm used to seeing him standing there with that laminated play sheet calling his plays. And I guess when during the hiring process, and he won't admit it because he was said that he wanted Kellen Moore on his staff. But it's hard for me to fathom a guy that's gone his whole career calling plays now all of a sudden just giving that up. But if that's the case, there has to be some questions, especially last against Philadelphia with just the double reverses, the play call. I just thought that was a horrible play call. And I guess you could question through the season just multiple things that have happened. But I have always thought that Mike McCarthy would have been the better play caller for this team. But we just hadn't seen it. And I understand where that energy is coming from our fan base.
I think that Kellen Moore was I think this was his first test. I think this past week was his first test, and I think he failed his first test. I think he's always had a lot of weapons at his disposal. I think he's always had a great offensive line. He's had a great quarterback, and this is the first time he's really faced any real adversity as offensive coordinator, and I don't think that he stepped up to the plate in that regard. I think that he's a competitor at heart, so I'm pretty sure, as any competitor would, I think they'll come back and try to bounce back. It's just unfortunate that he has to try to bounce back against a Pittsburgh Steelers team.
Yeah, even whenever you talk about it being his first test, I mean, even the week prior against Washington, you wouldn't call that a test?
I don't call that a test because, I mean, you bring in an all-pro quarterback. I mean,
against that defensive line, though?
Against that defensive line, it is a test in that regard, but nothing changes in terms of your play calling, right? Okay. Your capability of your quarterback to be able to handle the situations, it remains the same. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously now there was a drop-off in production because he's not Dak, of course, and I know I've eaten that up on Twitter, but Andy Dalton can handle everything that you throw at him in terms of the playbook. So there's no question mark there. And the question mark, comes in when you are dealing with a quarterback who you have to dumb the playbook down for, right? Who you have to simplify things for, how you have to scheme things up so that he understands it and that he can read the defenses. And, it doesn't really matter what the defense is. This play is going to work no matter whatever you see, because you don't have the knowledge or the confidence to check out of a play, right? So that's where the test was, and I think he failed.
That's a big one, man, because he was trying to get a rookie ready to play the Philadelphia defense. And look, I know we're going to be harsh on him, and I was harsh just with the reverse in the red zone. I thought that was a bad place to try that. But, I mean, look, we just got to pull it back a little bit because, DiNucci just was overwhelmed with what he saw last week, period.
Yeah, I think the stat from ESPN was he was like 0 for 9 in passes, or 0 for 11, something like that, passes 10 yards or more. They just, the pocket awareness and just reading the defenses, it was, I think that was just a real challenge, just trying to be functional back there. So I'm a little more hesitant to put it on the play calling at this point. I think I didn't even really have a problem with some of the trick stuff. I think, like I said, situationally though, like that one drop, I mean, the one with the 10-yard loss with Cedric Wilson. Don't dial that one up at that point. You're running the football. You're having success. You're taking the pressure off your quarterback. You just got to watch being tricky in that situation. Just stick with what's working.
And that's kind of what we had talked about previously, was we expected the trick plays. We expected something different. A new wrinkle is what Mike McCarthy said it as yesterday. He wanted the new wrinkle in his offense, and they brought that. It was the situational of that third quarter play that ended up being a loss of 10 on it, and just it was odd. It was odd placement for that one, and I think that's where maybe the learning comes involved, and maybe Mike has more say than what we're leading on to believe. I mean, he's still got a play sheet in his hand. He's still got the headset on. He may give that extra little bit of guidance for Kellen Moore, a young Padawan Moore, on the sideline of making sure that he knows what's going on and knows that, hey, we've got this in the bag at some point whenever it comes to running the ball. Let's not necessarily do this right here. Maybe that's something that's kind of put on the table for next week. And hopefully Dalton's back next week too, and you might get him back. And there's still a chance that he doesn't clear concussion protocol, but all signs pointing to him being ready for Pittsburgh. But hopefully he's ready to go and healthy in doing so as well. But that's going to do it here for Talkin' Cowboys today. Thanks again for a fantastic Fans on the Friday, Tuesday, every Tuesday at 9:50. Or I said Fans on the Friday, Fans on the 50 on Tuesday. It's been a long day. Go out and vote if you haven't already. Be nice to each other tonight, no matter what ends up happening. But we will be back tomorrow, no matter what, when that sun rises in the morning. Talkin' Cowboys is going to be there for you. But for Isaiah Stanback, Rob Phillips, Heckma Harrison, and the great Chris Beam in the back, I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long from the SWBC Mortgage Studios. We'll see you next time on Talkin' Cowboys.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.